On today's Royally Us, Prince William touches down in South Africa for the Earthshot Prize as a new investigation claims he and King Charles are making millions off charities. Plus, Robert Hardman writes that King Charles has cut off Prince Andrew and won't reconcile with Prince Harry. Here's what he tells us about that relationship.
It seems that the more that they are finding a new way of life, their own roles, separate from the monarchy, I think the tensions are starting to ease.
And Kim Kardashian steps out in Princess Diana's famous cross necklace. We've got that plus so much more in today's Royally Us. Hey everyone, it's Christina and that's Christine, and welcome to a big week of royal news. We have the Earthshot Prize Awards coming up later this week, so lots of exciting things to get to.
We've got big events coming up. We have lots of stories to these are all updates. We're following up on some things that we've been wondering for a while. So lots of stories to talk about today.
Definitely. But let's start off with this documentary titled The King, the Prince, and Their Secret Millions, in which they published a series of shocking findings about two tax-exempt estates, the Duchy of Lancaster and the Duchy of Cornwall. Among the myriad of allegations, it was found that King Charles and Prince William's private estates have been taking millions from public bodies, including the National Health Service, state-funded schools, and the British Armed Forces. So the program alleged that William's estate has claimed over $28.5 million since 2005 from a share of rent payments on Camelford House, as well as a $78,000 payment from St. John's Ambulance, a charity of which Charles is a patron. So the report further claimed that the King's estate last year signed on a dotted line to store a new fleet of electric ambulances in its warehouses in exchange for $14.7 million over 15 years. In addition, William's estate had charged the British Navy $1.3 million since 2004 to build jetties and more warships in Cornwall. Other findings include that the royals charge a fee for the right to cross rivers and run cables under the beaches they own, and they also earn passive income from tolls, parking lots, wind turbines, and a lot more. So this was a pretty thorough investigation. The Sunday Times teamed up with this documentary to kind of put these findings out, and I think a lot of people had a lot of opinions about it.
I think the numbers, when they're sort of read out to you like that, they're so shocking. But as you said, one of them was sort of over 15 years. And these are massive, massive land estates. I mean, these are huge, areas that you're talking about that are just generating income the way that anyone else that owns land is generating income. And this has been set up for centuries, this sort of land management for the royals, and it actually takes a financial burden off of the taxpayers. So the taxpayers are not paying for the royal income, although they pay into the sovereign grant. They're not really paying for their day-to-day lifestyle. That's paid for, like for Prince William, by the Duchy of Cornwall. And this is just sort of a listing of things that realistically was fairly public knowledge. You could have figured it out yourself, but when it is presented in this way, it is really shocking to see how much money is generated and where it's coming from.
Right. No, you're right. And when it's kind of listed out like that, it's very jarring, these big figures and things like that. But like you said, some are spread over 15 years. It's a break for the taxpayers. So, people are going to see this as a good thing, as a bad thing, good or bad. So, like I said, a lot of opinions on this one. But I think that Prince William, for right now, is going to be focused on the Earthshot Prize Awards because he arrived in Cape Town, South Africa, for a 4-day visit to showcase his prestigious Earthshot Prize, aimed at finding innovative solutions to climate and environmental issues. After traveling on a commercial flight from London, his first engagement on November 4th included a meeting with 120 young environmentalists hailing from across Africa and Southeast Asia as part of the inaugural Earthshot Prize Climate Leaders Youth Program. His team has designated this week as Earthshot Week, a series of events leading up to the gala on Wednesday, November 6th. We've already talked about kind of this star-studded lineup that he has in attendance, and this has become such a big event for him that he looks forward to year after year, and it's nice that he has brought it to South Africa.
I think if you haven't already, you have to follow along on social media. Prince William's team is doing an incredible job sharing Earthshot Week on Instagram, particularly. because like you said, there's actually so much going on. They've really stretched this. It's not just the awards gala. It's this whole week of promoting these projects, learning more about what Earthshot does and who they help support. And we've seen Robert Irwin. There might be more celebrity guests popping on just to really get the message out there. We know this is William's, like, his life's work. This is his big project, and I think giving it like this week, really stretching it out, is just pushing those initiatives forward. People are really paying attention. It looks like so much fun, and as we said, he flew commercial, which makes sense for this awards. And even just that, seeing people on social media saying, "Oh my goodness, Prince William was on my flight. He was so low key." That's all part of the conversation around Earthshot flying as sustainably as possible, making these changes to hopefully create a better world.
Right, definitely. Become a big week-long celebration that people are going to look forward to year after year. All right, well, on November 3rd, the King and Queen of Spain paid a visit to the eastern city of Valencia as the death toll from the flooding reached over 200 people. According to the BBC, the royal couple were subjected to shouts of murderer and shame as they walked through the town. The town of Payporta, which was one of the worst affected in the region. Mud and other objects were also thrown at them. In footage shared by the BBC, the king was shown being guided through the streets as hundreds of people shouted heckles and threw objects in his direction. The queen was shown with mud on her face and in tears as she spoke to residents and hugged one who was overcome with emotion. Now, of course, this anger in Spain is over a perceived lack of warning about the floods and the level of government support that has been provided to those affected. I mean, these images and videos that have been coming out of Spain is just absolutely horrific and tragic what these poor people are going through, and rightfully so, they are angry that the warnings were not there.
I think so. I think the mistake that the king and queen made was they attended this visit with government officials, with the prime minister, who people are very, very angry with. And if you watch the videos and you're able to translate them, the people, when they meet the king and queen, are saying, "We're not angry with you. Thank you for being here. This is about the government that has failed us." And the prime minister ends up being escorted out of there, away from the scene, and the king and queen are sort of welcomed. They took the time to listen to the people, to comfort them. Queen Letizia is crying. Her bodyguard is bleeding from the things that were thrown at them. The king is embracing and comforting people, and the video, they're so moving. But I think it's an incredible show of the power of monarchy, where the monarchs are sort of, they're apolitical. They didn't cause the issue. They aren't part of the government issue and the lack of support, but they're still able to be there to support their people in that time. And I'm emotional just thinking about it, because the videos they're so moving. It's so disturbing to hear the stories and to listen to the videos. But I'm from my side of things, I'm glad that the king and queen are there as figureheads to support the people after such a tragic event.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I'm sure their presence did mean a great deal, and probably felt both ways. I'm sure it's a absolutely horrific time, and it's really, really awful. So glad that they were there to support everybody in need. All right, well, let's switch gears a little bit and spill the royal tea, because Kim Kardashian wore Princess Diana's iconic Atala cross to the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. She looked glamorous in a low-cut white Gucci gown and cream cape. The diamond-encrusted amethyst Atala cross pendant was styled with a pearl and silver choker and another pearl necklace layered underneath. The late Princess of Wales most famously wore the pendant on a long pearl chain in 1987 at Birthright's London charity gala, which aimed to protect human rights during pregnancy and childbirth. At the time, she paired the piece, originally purchased by British businessman named Atala, with a Catherine Walker & Co. Victorian velvet royal purple gown. It was a Renaissance look and was definitely one of her most memorable and one of the most talked about. So Kim actually purchased this cross at an auction, royal and noble sale, which opened in January of 2023. It was valued around $98,000 to $148,000, and she ultimately paid $200,000 for this pendant. So what did you think of this?
I remember when Kim Kardashian bought this, and you and I were so sure she was going to wear it at the Met Gala that year. And I remember discussing it because it would have been perfect. And so I really wondered if Kim lost it, like was it just like in the vault somewhere? I think the styling of the piece was really great. If you look at Kim's outfit, I think the cross really takes center stage, and it's worn very elegantly, I think. But surprising that she picked maybe not the most high profile event for such a high profile piece. Um, and it is, I think it's very strange to see an iconic Princess Diana piece on Kim Kardashian. Like, what a world.
What a world. But we know that like Kim she loves jewelry from, famous figures. I know she has a lot of Elizabeth Taylor's jewels as well. So I'm sure she's got quite the collection. But yeah, this was definitely one of Diana's favorite pieces and one of her most memorable looks. But now it's on Kim Kardashian. I love to see it. All right, well, Kim Kardashian. King Charles has reportedly cut off financial ties from his brother Prince Andrew. In his updated biography titled Charles III, New King, New Court, The Inside Story, royal writer Robert Hardman claimed that Charles had instructed the keeper of the Privy Purse or the monarchy's finance director to revoke his brother's annual personal allowance, reported to be in the realm of $1 million. Now, this is according to the Daily Mail. A source claimed the Duke is no longer a financial burden on the king. We've been talking about this for a while, that Prince Andrew was cut off. They've been trying to kick him out of the Royal Lodge for quite some time. And he's holding steady.
I mean, yeah, this is like the story that won't go. It's like Prince Andrew won't take a hint. When this story came out last week, I received several messages from people saying, "Thank goodness, finally." I think this is a long time coming. Prince Andrew is sort of no longer welcome within the royal fold. People don't want to support him financially through the sovereign grant. They don't want him to be a financial burden on the king or on the people. And this is just this is a long time coming. Hopefully he gets the hint and moves out of Royal Lodge soon. He does not need like a 30-room mansion for just him and Sarah Ferguson and the corgis. And it feels like the story that I can't believe we're still talking about this and that a grown man has not sort of taken the hint.
Yeah, it's time to move on. It's still, I'm sure wherever he goes next will still be very comfortable and very royal, but it's not going to be there anymore. Us Weekly did reach out to Buckingham Palace for comment. We didn't hear back. And the book also stated that the palace will no longer finance his private security detail, which is said to be in the 7-figure range as well. So he is cut off. Well, in that same book, Robert Hardman also is saying that very expert palace aides were available to help Meghan Markle, but the Duchess wouldn't trust them. So Prince Harry accused the royals of total silence or total neglect in response to his pleas for help dealing with the media coverage of his wife Meghan in the years before they quit the monarchy. As we know, he wrote about this in Spare as well. However, royal aides told Robert Hardman that this was not the whole story, as Charles' most senior advisor, Sir Clive Alderton, had been clear of the need to do the right thing for Harry. Hardman quotes a royal staffer from those days. It was Clive, now Sir Clive Alderton, private secretary to the king, who said that if we could get this right for Harry, we'd be creating a blueprint for future younger sons for generations. Now, this was an extract from the book, and Clive said, those two need more staff. And we second people from Clarence House, very expert people, to help them, but the Duchess wouldn't trust them. Those two were offered considerable resource and then later said that they had been offered no help, and that was completely wrong. I mean, it seems like a battle of a he said, she said type of situation. And I mean, I don't think we'll ever know the exact truth of what went on behind palace doors, but it does seem that resources were given, and maybe they just didn't feel comfortable what was given to them.
Yeah, I think the most important thing to keep in mind is, as you said, there's so much of a he said, she said. We will probably never know the truth, but this story does mirror a lot of other stories that we've heard where they actually were offered help, support, advice, whatever you want, but because it wasn't what they wanted, they refused it. So although the support was given to them, it wasn't what they wanted or maybe what they felt like they needed. It might have been quite like the Sandringham Summit, all or nothing. Either you take all these people who are going to help you and tell you exactly what to do, or we give you nothing. We don't know. However, all the stories, none of it's really coming out of left field. We've sort of heard this sort of thing about them before.
You're so right, and we kind of heard this as well, too, that King Charles is kind of reluctant to bury the hatchet with Harry due to fears that there could be some serious legal jeopardy because of the Duke's ongoing legal case against the UK government. I feel like there's always so many holdups in what may make them reconcile in the future.
Absolutely. And I wonder if Harry and Meghan, or really Harry specifically, anticipated that would happen, that as these court rulings, as these court cases are continuously ongoing, as we've still got this book deal hanging over their heads where there's going to be anxiety over what that looks like. Did Harry anticipate that would sort of, affect his whole life for years and years to come in the way that it has? Because I think there's a good point to be made that it's been a long time. Maybe the tensions are easing, but with the knowledge of these court cases, these books, all these things that are still yet to come, perhaps there is hesitancy from, from King Charles and Prince William to extend any olive branches, knowing that those things are on the horizon.
You're so right. Well, let's break down the royal rules, because we actually spoke to Robert Hardman ourselves to get an update on where he thinks Harry stands with the royal family now. Take a look.
What does the relationship with Harry look like these
Yeah,
days?
well, I mean that is the big question. That is the great absence, if you like, at the heart of the current monarchy, is that I think for many years, as Prince Charles, he'd always envisaged that when the time came, he'd have these two sons to sort of to support him, and obviously Harry now having made a new life in California. That leaves a gap. What I think he'll be encouraged by is that the level of noise, if you like, coming from there, the criticisms towards the monarchy that we had back at the end of 22, the start of 23, when you had Harry's big Netflix series, Harry and Meghan's big series. Then you had Harry's book, Spare. And these had some pretty punchy things to say.
Sure.
About the royal family, and that was a time when it was very early on in the king's reign. He didn't really need that sort of whatever you want to call it, distraction, unhelpful commentary, and yet his response was just to ignore it, no comment, just get on with the job. And I think that strategy actually paid off.
Yeah, it definitely did. It seems like it. Do you feel like there's any sort of reconciliation in the future, or have there been conversations?
I mean, it was, the sort of the signs would point towards things getting very gradually better. There haven't been any major outbursts or complaints from the Sussexes this year. Harry's got on with his own stuff, as has Meghan, and it seems that the more that they are finding a new way of life, their own roles separate from the monarchy, I think the tensions are starting to ease. But I think clearly, it's if we're going to see some sort of rapprochement, some sort of rebuilding of bridges, I think we're more likely to see Harry and his father reconciled. I think for Prince William, there's a lot. There are just big trust issues there, big trust issues. I mean, that book, Harry's book, they were very fond stories. I mean, overall, I would say, most of the royal family, all the royal family came out of it pretty well. It was not a savage takedown or character assassination. They all actually come out of it as sort of affectionate individuals. But I think for William, the way in which just their childhood was just sort of put out there, and all these stories being told that were just between, as he would have seen it, between him and his brother, and suddenly the whole world's reading it. I think that it takes quite a lot. Takes a lot to come back from that sense of broken confidence.
I mean, his guess is as good as anybody's, so only time will tell what the future holds for them. But Christine, thank you so much. Lots of big stories this week, lots of wide-ranging stories.
It feels so good. I know I've said it a few times. We're back in the swing of things. We have a few events to look forward to for next week's show. I'm so excited for all of it.
Definitely. Well, in the meantime, keep commenting, keep subscribing, and Christine and I will see you next week.